Allie Zendrian, founder of AtoZ Communications, and this is the Brand Stories podcast. This is where we discuss everything from marketing, public relations, just communications in general. This week we have Jan Bolton on the podcast. I got to know him back when he was at Nitrogen. He has since moved to Wealth.com and is doing some great things there. This episode made me think that typically my episodes run between 20 and 30 minutes. Hopefully if you've listened to more than one, you know that. But this is definitely 23 minutes of jam-packed, actionable tips that you get from Dan. I am super excited to have you on the podcast, not only as a brilliant mind within the marketing of financial services, but also as a genuinely kind and good human being. And I feel like we need more of those in this world. So thank you for gracing my presence.
Allie, thank you so much. Honored to be here. And I know we worked together for years, and it's always been a blast.
I love you too. My first question is, what's your favorite brand and why?
I have to go to Apple. And I know that's probably an answer that you get often, but I love Apple from not only the products that we're using, like on the computer right now, the Apple computer, but just from the marketing and brand perspective that they take. So they don't lead with features. They always lead with value. And I think back to whenever they launched the iPod, they're not saying, oh, we can let you listen to MP3 files, or you can have 5 gigs in your pocket kind of thing. It's always, no. You have 1,000 songs in your pocket. Yeah. So they lead with the value that you're getting. They lead with the experience, how they want you to feel with it versus we do XYZ features better than everybody else.
Well, it's interesting that that's your favorite, because that seems like what you've brought in both your previous role at Nitrogen and then at Wealth.com too, like focusing on what the value is and what the point of all of this is. How do you keep working on that when it seems like there's so much noise and gobbledygook that gets on top of messaging sometimes?
There is a lot of noise out there, and it's only increasing. So I look at it from the perspective of 3 pillars on that front. Like always in your marketing, always in your brand, you've got to take a clear view. There's so much dross out there. There's so much bland kind of noise out there, but you can't be neutral. If you have a good solution, you have to, one, wholeheartedly believe in that solution. Like the marketers, you're supposed to be the evangelist for your company. And if you don't actually believe at almost like a spiritual level that you have a really good product, it reflects in everything that you create, everything that you produce, everything you put out there. I would say, like in brand marketing, what you try to do is you've got to give something for people to remember. You've got to be clear on, here's what we believe, here's what we do differently, and here's what we don't do as well. And that's often just as important as the other two. On the Wealth.com side of things, what I'm looking at is not a legal document problem. That's not it. It's an access problem. It's a workflow problem. It's a completion problem. Are clients able to create an estate plan if they don't have millions and millions of assets? So that's an access thing. Do they complete them? It's something that you hear, sort of the estate planning process. I did mine before joining Wealth.com, and it just took a long time. You're going back, it's just stacks of paper. You're interacting with a lawyer who doesn't really know your family, doesn't know your history, doesn't know what you want to do. And they're just approaching it from the legal side of things. And that's the completion, that's a complexity problem. And so for firms that use us, like previously, they would either have to outsource this to a law firm, which you don't get to control the brand experience. You've worked really hard as a firm to have a really white glove service for your clients, and then you just outsource them. And that's sort of a break in the process. Or you have to bring in an in-house attorney, and then that adds added cost problems. Or you're sending it out to like an online generic, like LegalZoom. Yeah, you're sending it to a LegalZoom, and it's just these very generic, unspecific templates that are rinse and repeat. And so I think that goes to the second point of just reducing the complexity. So telling people what you do and not leading with feature, but leading with the value. We help you here. We do this for you. And I mean, it goes back to like the firms that are winning, the brands that are winning, they're not playing the same game as everybody else. You look at wealth management logos, and a majority of them have like a lighthouse or a boat or something nautical theme to it. But the firms that are making a difference, they're actually distinct in what they do. So they're not leading with, we offer comprehensive financial planning. We offer tax optimization. No, They just say, hey, we help you create one plan for your one life with no distraction kind of thing. They keep it very simple and very memorable. For an estate planning software company, it's like, we're not saying we can create these X number of document types for you and we can review these X number of document types. No, we help you plan for every tomorrow. And so it's just a quick tagline that just shares like, okay, what's the aspirational goal of who you are? What do you do? How do you help me?
And I love the fact that the every tomorrow, because you're right. So your situation, and I'm glad that you did your estate planning. I know I keep meaning to, and then it doesn't happen. It will happen soon.
I know, but that's the problem. You can't,
Right.
It's just like, I'm going to get to it. I know I'm going to get to it. Like that's an access. That's the complexity problem.
Yeah. So what do you feel like the industry could be doing overall to sort of break down that issue? And
I look at it from a consistency standpoint where oftentimes, I mean, there's always that shiny object syndrome where in marketing or firms or even at wealth.com, like I can get in the trap of what is the hot new thing? How do we use that? How do we do that? How do we innovate this kind of thing versus there's so much value in consistently doing everything the same way. Meaning the way that you speak in your emails, the way that your website reads, the way that your webinars go, it's all the same brand versus like, this event, we look this way. And then the person gets on a webinar and it's like, oh, that's a different experience. Or they chat into the help desk and it's like, whoa, that's a different experience. And you're using different sort of language there too. It's just very fragmented versus trust is built through repetition. And I would say consistency in how you brand yourself and what you do and not just chasing the shiny object. It shows that you've thought about the problem. You've thought about the issue. And so a big part of my role is the one pagers that we have at our conference booth, to the backdrop at the conference booth, to the dinner that you come to, that you've been invited to for wealth.com, to the website, to our emails, to the podcast. Everything sounds coherent and the same. Everything looks the same. Everything feels the same. The visuals, the language, the tone, the experience. It's the wealth.com experience. It's not these three things with wealth.com versus these other two things or, whoa, that just feels very different than what I was expecting.
Yeah. And speak of experience, you are the guy really when it comes to creating that experience, because as somebody who started the Fearless Investing Summit and it just became this huge, it was known for the experience and the little touches like the personalized Coke and whatnot. Everybody, you became known as that guy who could create those experiences. So how are you creating that? And wealth.com is going to be having an event soon, correct?
That's right. Yeah, we are excited to host EstateCon. This will be January 26th, 28th at the Omni Mauna Lucia, beautiful resort that we bought out in Scottsdale. And so we're bringing together just some of our top friends that we've done business with, doing business with, and I just can't wait for it. It's fully sold out, and we've got a great speaker lineup from across the industry, but also some really good names too, from Admiral William McRaven all the way to like Frank Caliendo, the comedian, like a good assortment of folks that we all can learn from. But you asked sort of about creating that experience. And I think the very first step is just having a bit of empathy, which is something we all could use more of, like putting yourselves in the shoes of the person that's going to get your email, putting yourselves in the shoes of the attendee that's going to be walking around resort that you may have walked around for 10, 15 different times, but this will be their first time. And so it's answering the question, do you understand my world? Do you understand what I'm dealing with, going through? And so the thing I encourage our team to do is try to get as close to that as possible. We're not marketers for wealth.com. We're trying to be marketers for the firm down the street. We want to know their pain points. And when you know their pain points, and you have to communicate with these folks to understand. You can't look from a distance. You've got to get up close and personal and talk with advisors every single week. And so a goal that I have is I want to talk to 10 advisors every single week. They can be customers. They can be prospects. It can be about wealth.com. It doesn't have to be about wealth.com, but I want to talk to them. And just by talking to them, that's how you start seeing the world through their lens. You start seeing how they interact and what their workflows look like. What's your day look like? What's the problems that you face? And then once you really start seeing that, everything benefits from it. Absolutely everything. It may seem weird, like, oh, part of my job is I'm going to talk to 10 different people every single week. That actually makes my job better that actually makes my output better.
But so what is it that it seems like so many people are either, whether it's afraid to do that or just feel like that's just like so much time and I got to do this stuff. Very few people make the time and the effort to do something like that. But you're right. Without asking somebody, how do you know what's going on with them? You're just making assumptions.
Exactly. And that's where it's a very dangerous trap to do marketing assumptions. That's where you see all these different brands. They take these assumptions and then they run with it. And they're in this sort of bubble of sorts where they're just like, okay, Cracker Barrel is a great example of that. I don't know if they spoke to anyone that's like my grandparents or my parents at all whenever they were doing that rebrand that just totally blew up in their face. But what happened is they got in a room with some consultants as some like agencies that don't really serve that demographic. And they just started playing back and forth on like, oh, what if we did this modern logo? What if we did this modern font? Oh, what about this brand palette kind of thing? And so they get in this room, they keep talking about it, but they never go outside of that room. And they never actually go outside of the emails that they're sending back and forth. They never went to the restaurants and just sat down with the people that are sitting there, the people that go there every single week kind of thing. And then they look at it and they're like, wow, we've done a lot of work and we've created this incredible new brand relaunch, and they launch it and it just blows up. And so for the marketer, for the leader that's saying, oh, that's too much time, I would say, sure, if you're looking at it from like a plus or minus perspective, yeah, you're going to spend a couple hours a week doing that, but you're negating the fact that that's actually an exponential multiplier. You're not saying 1 + 1 = 2. You're saying 2 times 10. What does that look like? And so you get to blow it up that way. Everything flows from that.
So getting back to something that you were saying earlier about how you really have to stand out, and it's not saying the things like comprehensive financial planning and all those words that get used all the time and at this point basically have no meaning to them. How do you advise advisors to stand out when it's like, yeah, but I offer comprehensive financial planning and I do that. What is my differentiator?
Yeah, you when you offer comprehensive financial planning, you're also promoting the very same thing that a vast majority of other people do. So the firm down the street can say the same thing. The firm down the other street can say the same thing. And so that just goes back to being distinct. So as a client, if you lead with, oh, we can do tax optimization, or we have a client portal, or we do these 3 things, those messages get ignored because at this point they seem table stakes to the client. Oh, I'm hearing that everywhere. I see that on commercials. I hear that on radio ads. So what is it that you do that's unique? What is it that you do that's useful? And the firms I see are winning. I mean, they are specifically targeting a specific type of client. And they're saying, okay, we only offer our services to doctors or teachers or small business owners or entrepreneurs or folks that have gone through an exit. I met an advisor that only works with lottery winners. And it's great because it's just like, whoa, you would think that market's small, but it's not. It's a very healthy business for him, but he's specialized in that. And so he gets to go into these meetings and say, okay, I know this is life-changing for you, or you may seem like you're one of one, but I've done this for dozens and dozens of people. Here's the playbook. And so whenever you have something distinct about what you do, if you don't have that, you need to find it quickly. But other than that, once you have it, then that's what you market with, because everybody else has the same things.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. By the way, whoever that guy is, I was just imagining all those people feel like they're 1 in a million, and it's like, look at this whole room full of people. You're special, but not that special.
Yeah, I know the playbook. I can help you.
So when it comes to estate planning, I feel like even in the amount of time that I've been doing financial services PR, it's changed so much. And it's become that thing that hasn't just been my grandma's 80 and getting sick and whatnot. We got to do her estate plan. It's the, no, you know what? If you have kids, if you have a house, if you have a pet, like everybody's supposed to get an estate plan. How do you feel like that's evolving, and where does wealth.com like fit into that?
Yeah, it's only growing in importance, and it's rapidly growing, because what folks are realizing, and because I also think the great wealth transfer, like you've got $124 trillion in assets being transitioned over to the next generation right now with the baby boomers. And what you're seeing is advisors are looking at it from a couple different angles where, okay, I've traditionally had to outsource this, but this is increasingly becoming an ask. 2, I don't know who the beneficiaries are, or I haven't met them, or my client has listed, these are the 3 people that are going to be the beneficiaries of my estate. I should meet them, or else who's going to manage those assets? And then on top of all of this, you're looking at it, and you can be a financial planner, but financial planning and estate planning are two sides of the same coin, where you're planning for someone's life, but are you planning just till the funeral, or are you planning for their legacy? And I would say the financial planners that can say that they're offering holistic advice, what they're doing is they're not only planning the financial aspect of the client's life during their lifetime, but they're also setting up a legacy for years, generations to come.
Yeah. You know what? I had never thought about that. The fact that generally speaking, we're doing financial planning basically until the client croaks. And you're right. That's not the right way to think about it, because there are so many people who are impacted by that event. And are they going to be your potential clients? And obviously advisors are trying to get those people, but then how do you get them when nobody's ever heard of you until somebody dies?
You can have an incredible financial plan, but the moment the client passes, it just ends up in probate, and it just all goes to waste because you've worked so diligently to think of every single nuance on insurance, retirement, healthcare, all that, but it just gets stuck. Versus when you have the estate plan in place, you get to designate and you get to describe what outcome you would like, who should get what charities do you want to make a massive impact for. And then also on the estate planning front too, it's not just a one-time thing. It's a living, breathing document. It's not just telling you like, this is what I want whenever I pass. You need to update your estate plan when you get married, when you have kids, when you move. The same documents when you created the estate plan in Colorado don't apply in Georgia, or they could be different. And so you've got to have that nuance. You've got to have that understanding, because it turns from a one-time conversation happening every 10 years, 15 years, maybe, to, all right, this is going to be a part of our annual review. We're going to talk about this, make sure that you're set regardless of what happens. Obviously, we want you to live a long and full life, but if something happens tomorrow, we've got you covered.
Yeah. So getting back to something that you had mentioned early on, so brand evangelist, when I think of wealth.com, I think of Tim White, and I think of that boisterous, just gets up on a stage and like owns the place. And may I have that kind of energy and presence one day, because it would be amazing. How does a company embody that? Something that seems like it could be almost unattainable, because that's just, it's so much and it's so great.
Companies need to have a Tim White, truly. Like, you've got to have a person or two that will be going on the road, that will be going on the webinars, that will be speaking to others, that personifies your brand. Tim is unbelievable. And I joke with him that he's a marketer's best asset, because I don't know when the guy sleeps. He's always wearing wealth.com gear in the airport, doesn't matter, family vacation, he's on brand. He just tells a story so well. And so what I would encourage firms is, you've got to have somebody that personifies your brand and what you want your brand to be. If you're all just looking and sounding the same, you're going to get lost in the noise. Versus you've got to have somebody that's actively promoting, believing in you. And it goes back to that evangelist comment that I said, where it's just like, the person needs to believe in their core that what they are talking about matters, and what they're talking about makes a difference. Tim has that. Tim has that in spades. And you look at that and it's just like, oh, that makes everything easier, because then you get to put a face to the name with the brand. Like you just mentioned, you brought up Tim at wealth.com. Yes, that's the goal, because instead of looking at some company, some corporation, and just going on their website, no. Like, oh, I know Tim. I can call Tim. I can email Tim. I can talk to this person that really humanizes the brand and takes it down from like this sort of unapproachable behemoth of sorts to no, I have a relationship with this person. They're going to help me.
Yeah. So when it comes to estate planning, how do you think about your marketing, and how do you feel like that's different than like other avenues of financial services?
For us, we want to be everywhere. And when I say everywhere, I want us to be at all the good events. I want us to have a robust advertising platform that we can be on Google, LinkedIn, Facebook, you name it. I want us to always have something for people to look forward to. So that could be the event, that could be the upcoming webinar, but separately too, like, we have to be adding value. I look at it sort of on a scale where on one side of marketing, you've got sort of the transactional, where it's like, hey, take a demo. Hey, do this for us, blah, 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 blah. Like, if you're weighted on the transactional, people just tune you out. Versus you've got to have that other side of the scale that's the more relational. Here is the education. Here are the resources. Here's how we're helping you. We're not asking anything in return, but we want to equip you with what you need to do your job, what you need to better understand this problem that we're seeing, what we're doing to make sure you look like a hero in front of your clients. And so always, always, always that scale needs to be tipped more on the relational side, because then when you have the transactional things like, hey, you should look at this. Can you do this for us? Can you take the survey? That kind of thing. It makes those asks easier. You don't have any relationship in your life where somebody's just constantly asking you of things. You may, but it doesn't last for long. Like it's, I see your eyes going right now.
I was thinking, my daughter asks me for things all the dang time, but I guess you're right. She's 6 and God willing, when she's 18, she won't ask me for everything else.
That's it. Like, but friends that do that, they don't stay friends for long, because it's just like, oh man, this is exhausting. This person's just always asking me for something. Every message is a new ask of me, versus like, wow, they sent me a cake on my birthday. They sent me a card. They thought of me and gave me something without any expectation of return. And so that's where I'm saying, have that mindset, be very conscious of what you're putting out in the market in terms of, is this a transactional ask or is this a relational value add?
No. So one of the great points that you made was having that empathy and starting with that before you really do any of your marketing work. So for either a marketer or a firm that feels like, I've never done that before, I don't even have a clue where to get started, how would you express to them that take these few steps and you can do that?
I would say that they're more aware of it than they recognize. So first place to start is look in your emails. What are the consistent themes of the emails that you're getting sent from clients? What are they asking for? What are the things that they run into often? That is a very good starting point. People will tell you where they're struggling, where they don't have visibility, where they need help. And half the battle is just having your ears open to hear what they're saying. And not only just saying like, okay, one-off client sent me this, I can do a one-off response. The thing is, if one client is asking it, and if you've sort of gone back to that point of you serve a very similar demographic of clients, like if one doctor client is asking this, your other doctor clients may be asking the same thing too. One thing I like to say is every customer has a clone, and that's helpful from the prospecting side. You know what sold them initially. You can go find another person like that. But from the client perspective too, they have that same pain point. I about guarantee the other family has a similar, or they have that same question. They just haven't asked it yet. And so on the empathy side, it's not only hearing that, but it's the other side is being proactive with that. So, all right, this client has said, these are the 5 things that they're dealing with. I'm going to go and build out resources that answer those 5 things. And not only that, I'm going to list them on my website. I'm going to send them to my ideal client, and they're going to see that. And some of the stuff they may say like, that's not an issue for me. But I guarantee there's going to be one thing that you send out that they're like, whoa, I didn't even bring that up. But they've already thought of that. They've been proactive, and not only proactive in just sort of like a task oriented kind of way, they've been proactive from an empathy first standpoint.
Yeah. Love it. Anything that you can tease that we should be looking forward to from wealth.com or from you in general?
6 is going to be a massive year for wealth.com. 25 has been a great year for us, but the announcements that we've got coming out in January, in February, in April, in July, I'm more excited about those announcements than anything that we've announced this past year. And so I would just say, stay tuned, follow us on social. There's going to be a lot of news coming from wealth.com this coming year.
Well, kudos to you. Any brand that is affiliated with you in any way is highly intelligent and obviously doing very well for themselves. So continued success to you personally and to wealth.com.
Thank you. Allie, you've been a great friend for years and nothing but the best to you. You're the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.